Hi, Coach Kevin here. I'm excited to teach advanced shoulder exercises to you in this video because shoulders are something that I've got a lot of experience with, having been a swimmer throughout high school and college. And so sharing what I've learned throughout my entire career as an athlete and as a coach is going to have some nice exercises that are going to be able to take your performance to the next level. Now, these exercises are not intended for beginners, so make sure you have mastered the foundational exercises first. You've also been consistently doing shoulder and core stability exercises, and that you also plan on maintaining those stability exercises while you add in these advanced ones. So you don't want to replace exercises, you just keep building on your foundation. The exercises you're learning today are going to make you strong throughout your entire range of motion. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the person that does pull-ups and they go like this, right? And they count each one of those. Well, that's not going to make them very strong if they need to reach up here and lift themselves up from there. So all of the movements I teach, I make sure that you're learning and training your body to be strong throughout that entire range of motion, which applies much better to functional fitness and athletic performance. These exercises today are also going to combine dumbbells and kettlebells into them, creating more of an optimal amount of resistance throughout that range of motion. Because there are certain exercises, for instance push-ups, as you push up, it gets easier toward the top. And so when you do a resistive push-up, it creates more resistance toward the top, creating a high level of resistance throughout that range of motion. And that's also what's going to be taught with shoulder exercises today. Make sure to stick around all the way to the end of the video where I combine the kettlebell in with one of the shoulder exercises, which is kind of a unique way of using kettlebells. So the first two exercises I'm going to go over are doing side raises and vertical press, but then also combining them with some adjustable dumbbells. So I've got these set up for 5 pounds right now, and combining a featherweight band with one loop around my foot and a 5-pound dumbbell is a fairly equal challenge amount as if I'm doing 15-pound dumbbells. So kind of keep that in mind, that featherweight band, the amount that you stretch it with these, it's like adding about 10 pounds. And you can always move up to a higher resistance band if you're super powerful and looking to really ramp up those resistances. So starting out with the side raises, which I've covered in one of my previous videos, so I'm going to be quick about explaining it. So I'm going to stand inside of it, and I'm going to add one extra loop around each foot. You know, most high school varsity level athletes are going to be strong enough to add that extra loop. And then I cross the bands in front, thumbs point forward, just a slight hinge forward for my hips, and I raise up to a T. And you don't want to go past that T. We've got other exercises that create strength beyond that point. One thing I have heard some people talk about is turning their thumbs in, but that can cause a lot of stress inside your shoulders. And as athletes, we should not be doing that. We don't want to add any extra stress. So thumbs forward or turn slightly up as you do it, maintaining good posture. And now notice you see the bands crossing in front, creating good resistance right at the beginning. So I'm going to be strong right at the start of that range of motion. And now to add the dumbbells to it, I'm just going to keep my hands where they are, holding the bands. And then I'm going to pick up one dumbbell, and the band is going to be in between my hand and the handle. And so if you look here, you can see my band is right there in between the handle and my hands. And then I go ahead and I do that same side raise technique. And now adding that 5-pound dumbbell on each side makes it a much more consistent resistance and challenges me even more. And then we can do the same thing with the vertical press. So I'm just going to set these down for a second. I'm going to switch the bands to the same side, so the same foot to same hand, and then pick the dumbbells back up. Now I'm going to bring those bands to the back sides of my arms and go into my vertical press. Just like that. And now this one's a little bit easier. So If I set these down, increase the resistance, and put these up to like a 7.5 or a 10-pound resistance, that's going to be more appropriate for where I'm at. Pick them back up, and then go into it. So I highly recommend dumbbells that are adjustable like this, especially if you're working out at home, because they save space, they cost less, and I've had these for about 5 years, and they're still in good working condition. As long as they're kept in a fairly dry space, and you clean them every now and then, oil them a little bit, they keep working just fine. So this is 2.5 to 15 pounds, going up by 2.5 pounds each. So it's the equivalent of 6 different sets of dumbbells covering all my weights between 2.5 and 15 pounds. You can typically find these online for somewhere between $100 and $200. And so, I might have some links below of some recommendations once I test out a few different kinds and figure out which ones I like best. So I've got things set up here for my next exercise, which is going to be a front raise, where the resistance is going to start down at the bottom of the door in one of my door anchors. And I'm actually going to use 2 of the featherweight bands because the next exercise, I'm going to use 1 featherweight in each arm. And so this will just make it for a quick transition and allow me to get a nice high amount of resistance during this front raise. And this is one where typically I prefer not to use a dumbbell with it. And notice how I'm going to stand. I'm going to make sure that resistance is pulling my arm back behind me. It's important that your starting position is from behind you. And an easy way to explain that is thinking about like dips. That's a very common exercise. When you do a dip, your arm's back here and you push down with your triceps and your shoulder brings your arm forward. So if you're not strengthening your arm from behind you, bringing it to your side, that's going to leave you weak there, and you're going to have kind of the weak link in the chain, making you more likely to get a shoulder injury as you do a bunch of dips. And that's just one example. So I'm going to stand facing away from the door, holding both the bands in one hand, and then bring my arm forward up in front of me. So you can see this is creating resistance all the way from back here to halfway up in front of me. And it's also good to add a rotation to it for most people, because you want to strengthen that rotation of your body with those obliques at the same time. So I prefer to do this with my shoulder back. My shoulder rotates forward, leading my arm up in front of me. So that way, not only do I have power from the beginning of that range of motion, but even my core muscles are contributing to that power. Essential for any athlete that wants to train at an elite level. Combining those different muscle groups, just utilizing your whole body to make as much power as possible. And next, we're going to do a vertical press with your arms in front of you. So I'm just going to hold onto the bands like this, and I can push my arms up and then back down. A lot of people really like a version of it where their arms go to the side, they come in front, and then they go up and then back down. Now this one, just like most power band exercises, it's fairly easy to add weights to it. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up a pair of dumbbells and do this same exercise, adding the dumbbells to the power bands. Now notice I didn't loop it on my feet. I did that because I prefer the resistance to be coming from slightly in front of me. So then as I go up to the top, I'm also pulling back just a little bit, strengthening some of those muscles in my upper back that stabilize those shoulders. And as usual, if you learned any new exercises or any exercises in here that you just really like, make sure to subscribe and like below. Share to anyone else who has interest in fitness. And now I'm going to go ahead and show you a way to combine a kettlebell in with the power bands. So now I've got a 20-pound kettlebell here, and I took a lightweight power band and looped it through the handle. So all I did was just pull the band inside the handle and then loop it back over the handle and pull it tight. Pretty simple to attach it. And I'm going to stand inside this band, and then I'm going to lift up the kettlebell, and you can see now the band is pulling that kettlebell down, increasing that resistance. So the exercise I'm going to show you with it is an upright row. This is a really effective way of getting a lot of power with that exercise. So I'm just going to bring my hands up and then back down. And you don't want your elbows or hands to go past your shoulders, because that's going to create some pinching and some aggravation over time. So just like this. And as you can see from the side, that kettlebell is just slightly in front of my body as I lift it up, maintaining good posture. And now this is one that can be combined with your legs. So it's pretty simple to turn a deadlift into a row, just like that. And that's a great way to not only strengthen the muscles in your shoulders, but the posterior chain that supports your whole upper body as you lift something up. Extremely useful for functional fitness. I mean, think of how many times you lift things up throughout the day and have to carry them. So very good exercise for that. Now, this one is a little more complicated, just like some of the other ones I told you about today. So I do recommend consulting with your coach, with your personal trainer, and just making sure you're doing everything correctly and implementing it into a plan that's going to train your entire body. All right, we don't want to get advanced with certain exercises and neglect other ones and create weak links in your chain. And so as always, make sure you like, subscribe, and share below, so that way I can keep bringing you more of these videos, teaching you more of these exercises, helping you to be strong and be elite.